This is Dennis Peacock with another edition of the Transforum. Do you know how the government really works? I hope you do. The way that you vote, the future of your children, grandchildren, your business, and the nation is dependent upon, do you really know how the government works? Recently, I spent some time with my grandchildren, and they're being homeschooled, which is a good thing. We homeschool children to train them, not just protect them from the bad guys, but to train them to go back out and make a difference. And with my grandchildren, my oldest one, who is 10 years old, had memorized this video limerick, which is a debate about full employment between Frederick Hayek and John Maynard Keynes. And he'd memorized the whole thing. It's incredible. But I guess, again, the Paul Parrott period, that is when you're really able to memorize things, is between the ages of 5 and 10. And when it was over, I gave a homeschool lesson to my grandchildren, ages 8 and 10, on how the government really works. And I talked about government finance. I talked about monetary policy. There's two major forms of government policy, monetary policy and fiscal policy. And I talked about the monetary policy of controlling interest rates and currency volume and borrowing and inflation rates and all the things that the government does in cooperation with financial institutions and the Federal Reserve Board here in the U.S. And at the end of the time, both grandkids, age 8 and 10, had a general sense of what it is. We talked about full employment and why full employment is the major issue, especially for John Maynard Keynes and the economic system that he set up. And we talked about fiscal policy and the fact that Congress sets budgets, and budgets requires taxation, and then it creates deficits. If the taxation policy does not bring enough money to spend to cover what Congress wants to spend, then we go into deficits. And we talked about how the government raises money, various financial instruments, and its relationship of borrowing from the Federal Reserve Board and all that kind of stuff. Now, if I can explain that to a 10-year-old, a very bright 10-year-old, and a bright 8-year-old, and when I quizzed them, they basically got it. I wonder how many of the adult American voting population understands those most basic things. Monetary policy, fiscal policy. How can we vote intelligently for senators or House of Representatives or executive positions? How can we vote if we don't understand the most basic issues of how debt is created, the relationship of budgets to taxation policy and debt, which we are all up to our eyeballs in here in this country, I hope not personally, but certainly as a nation. How can we secure our future if we don't understand those things? They're not getting in school. So you know what that means? That means if you're watching the Transforum, you need to be somebody that bones up on all that stuff so you can teach and train those you lead and influence. This is Dennis Peacock with another edition of the Transforum. Let's engage. To see where this is going, click below.